Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Good evening. Thanks for choosing Big Fox News. I'm Nick Smith. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo continues to roll back COVID restrictions throughout the state, this time eliminating the 11 p.m. curfew for businesses. Matt Kleindis joins us in Corning with reaction from one local business about the curfew change.
Good evening, Nick. The 11 p.m. curfew will be lifted for casinos, bowling alleys, and movie theaters beginning on April 5th. I spoke with one movie theater that said the announcement will help them going forward.
I mean, we survived, and we're thankful for it.
Like many local businesses, the pandemic has taken its toll on Crystal Lane's bowling in Corning. According to Bobby Downing, the state's COVID curfew took a massive hit on the bowling alley's revenue.
You know, we'd have 26, 28 lanes going at 9:30, and you have to announce, hey, thanks for coming in, now go home. Many, many, many hundreds of dollars each night were being lost. You know, that's money for improvements, for taxes, for payroll.
He says Crystal Lanes and other businesses will greatly benefit being open later into the night.
That extra revenue, that 1 hour, even just 2 nights a week, is incredibly important.
However, Downing believes the rollback of the curfew came too late for many local businesses. Crystal Lanes had a lot of community support to stay afloat, which Downing said isn't the case for some in the local area.
We were very fortunate with the league bowlers stepping up. A lot of them donated their prize money back to keep our lights on. Not everybody had that benefit, and we truly feel terrible for anybody who did not make it.
Downing says he's grateful for residents sticking with Crystal Lanes through the worst of the pandemic.
They didn't want their hobby to close, and thank God for that. Thank God for that.
He looks forward to the curfew finally being lifted on April 5th. Matt Kleindens, Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
Health experts are warning another dangerous COVID-19 surge could be on the way. They say it's a tough race between getting Americans vaccinated and variants of the virus spreading. Adrian Brodus has more.
A concerning rise in coronavirus cases as vaccination efforts nationwide are ramping up.
I think that we are on the cusp of that fourth surge. We now have these more transmissible variants becoming dominant here in the U.S. very quickly.
The United States is averaging at least 50,000 new cases per day, and 17 states reported an increase in new COVID cases compared to the week before. Michigan has seen nearly a 50% increase in new COVID cases since last week. Dr. Jennifer Morse, medical director of Mid-Michigan District Health Department, contributes the spike to a list of factors, including COVID fatigue, rolling back restrictions, failure to wear masks, and the variant first identified in the UK. Michigan has the second highest number of confirmed cases of the UK variant in the nation. The state is opening a mass vaccination site at Ford Field next week. In the Northeast, concerns are mounting that a variant in New York City may cause another wave of cases. Case counts are up in several states in the region, including Delaware, where new cases are up more than 50% since last week. This comes as Rhode Island, New York, and New Jersey are increasing indoor restaurant capacity and easing COVID restrictions.
My concern is that we prematurely pull back and don't give the vaccines time to continue to protect the country.
And in California, Disneyland is set to reopen with limited capacity at the end of April. The announcement comes on the heels of the WHO designating 2 variants of interest detected in that state.
We are in a race to stop transmission, and the emergence of variants that spread more easily has made that even more challenging.
Meanwhile, more states are announcing plans to open up vaccine eligibility to all residents over the age of 16. According to the latest CDC data, nearly 1 in 8 people in the U.S. are fully vaccinated.
We're vaccinating really fast now. We're averaging about 2.5 million shots per day. 113 million Americans have gotten at least 1 shot.
All eyes on Georgia after 3 deadly shootings at spas in the Atlanta area. Most of the victims, Asian women. And as Britt Conway reports, this is only adding to the fear that many Asian Americans around the country are already facing.
People around the world are talking about what happened here. Shootings at 3 spas in metro Atlanta. 8 people are dead and 6 were Asian women. Police say suspect Robert Aaron Long told them the shootings weren't about race. They were about eliminating sexual temptation. But Georgia officials are investigating whether the shootings can be prosecuted as hate crimes. Either way, it's adding to outrage and anxiety over rising violence against Asian Americans. Advocacy group Stop AAPI Hate reports receiving almost 3,800 complaints from mid-March 2020 through February.
Many of my family members are living in fear.
I think the rhetoric from our previous administration was definitely the catalyst for all of this.
Here's what this administration has to say.
We stand with you and understand how this has frightened and shocked and outraged.
President Joe Biden is instructing officials to hold listening sessions in Atlanta. And on this issue, people have a lot to say, from politicians in Georgia.
I think this country has a reluctance to admit that there is very real and deep-rooted systemic racism that does result in violence.
To governors of other states, former President Barack Obama, advocates.
A lot of Asian Americans who are looking over their shoulders when they go outside, when they go to the grocery store.
And foreign leaders, all pleading for change. I'm Britt Conway, reporting.
The FBI has released graphic new videos from January's riot at the Capitol. The clips show protesters assaulting police. In one video, a rioter can be seen grabbing an officer by the helmet and smashing his head against a door. Other videos show protesters using poles and other weapons to assault police. The FBI released the videos to ask for help in identifying 10 perpetrators. So far, more than 65 people have been charged for attacking law enforcement officials on that day. More than 300 people have been arrested of various charges stemming from the riot. Stimulus checks have started arriving in millions of bank accounts. For many, the money hoped to spur consumer spending will instead go to paying overdue bills. Vanessa Yurkovic has more.
We've given up so much as a family already. It's just scary to think that we might be losing more.
It's been a year of sacrifice and uncertainty for Ashley Ordonez, Kyle Price, and their 5 children in Denver, Colorado.
Jay, where are you hiding?
They drained their savings and sold her wedding ring, all to survive.
That was a tough one.
It's just a piece of material, and it's a means to an end for my business.
Like 100 million other Americans, they're eligible for stimulus checks as part of President Joe Biden's COVID relief package. They could get up to $8,400 for their family, which they say will go straight into their wellness studio that's been surviving month to month. The checks will give them one more.
It's keeping our dream alive.
In Arkansas, Nikki Martin's check arrived just in time.
It has kept a roof over my head and kept my lights on.
Martin just finished months of aggressive chemo treatment when the pandemic started.
I didn't get to celebrate being cancer-free for very long before this hit.
Without a job, she filed for disability checks and is still waiting, making her ineligible for unemployment. But when that $1,400 in stimulus hit her bank account, she breathed a sigh of relief.
I just immediately got online and paid every bill I had and got caught up for the first time in months.
And Madeline Aguiar, out of work for the last year, has spent much of it here, applying to hundreds of jobs.
I've had to move from where I lived before in New Jersey to my parents' house in the Bronx.
Aguiar said she lost her job in hospitality when the industry was crushed by the pandemic. With work hard to come by, she's found herself in debt and receiving a stimulus check, both for the first time.
When you think about $1,400, does that seem like a lot?
Not in comparison to the debt I've had to incur.
Do you see a way out of the debt in the near future?
I think the only way out really is to get a job.
For many Americans, stimulus checks will make a difference. But for Ashley and Kyle, who put their house up for collateral to insure their business, it's simply not enough.
Any extra income goes straight to the business so that we don't lose this house. It's kind of the last thing we have. So it's really scary thinking about me. There's
thoughts of the future too much to bear, especially one so uncertain.
Americans are still struggling to get work. The Department of Labor says 770,000 people filed initial claims for unemployment benefits on a seasonally adjusted basis last week. That's more than economists predicted. For the past 12 months, first-time claims for jobless benefits have been higher than during the worst moments of the Great Recession. Economists and workers are hoping that vaccine rollout and warmer weather will help the economy heal faster. But right now, America is still missing jobs. Compared to February 2020, the U.S. is down 9.5 million jobs. Businesses in Corning's Gaffer District will be celebrating St. Patrick's Day with the Pot of Gold event on Saturday. Participating businesses will have green and gold ribbon hanging from their storefronts. Once a customer makes a purchase, they can reach in the store's pot of gold to receive a prize. Colleen Fabrizi says it's an event for stores and restaurants to thank residents for supporting local businesses.
They are really stepping forward and saying, how can we thank these customers? And coming up with what I believe is a really creative and fun idea.
The event runs from 11 a.m. until 3 p.m. at participating businesses. Still ahead tonight, the CDC releasing more extensive guidance when it comes to coronavirus testing.
Reliable and widely available testing is a crucial part of our efforts to stop the spread of COVID-19.
A look at the updated recommendations and why top health officials are calling for more testing at places like schools and workplaces.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Your Big Fox forecast is brought to you by William Mattar. Good evening, everyone. I'm meteorologist Kim Walker with your weather update. Temperatures today cooler than they were yesterday as a result of our rain and also the cloud cover. So this afternoon, Elmira and also in Corning, it was about 7 degrees cooler, 9 degrees cooler reported in both Bath and also in Watkins Glen. For tonight, we're not expecting any activity. Any snow out there will continue to push to the south and away from our area. The low pressure bringing that snow and rain today will continue to move into the Atlantic. We are expecting high pressure to build into tomorrow, so it's going to be a chilly day. And because we're going to be in between two systems, it will be windy as well. So it's going to be a windy and cold start to the day tomorrow. Temperature readings in the 20s, but it will feel like single digits because those winds will be pretty blustery early in the morning hours. And it will continue to be windy throughout the day. So high pressure building into the Great Lakes region. We're going to be on the east side of it, resulting in those north winds. But by the end of the week and into the weekend, we are expecting a little bit warmer conditions. I'll talk about that in just a little bit. But here's what you can expect through the rest of your Friday. Again, temperatures starting off in the 20s, 34 degrees by your lunch hour. So still very cold, barely above freezing. And then upper 30s could be possible in the mid to late afternoon. And of course, with that breeze, it's going to make those temperatures feel about 10 degrees cooler in the afternoon, feeling more like the 20s. And then clear conditions at 6 o'clock with temperature readings close to the freezing mark. So here's what you can look forward to as we head into next week. Milder air returning. High pressure that's bringing us a cool air will start to move to the Atlantic. We're going to be on the west side of this high, and that will result in south winds and a little bit warmer conditions. In fact, temperatures will be a good 10 to 15 degrees warmer than normal by next week. But it's going to be cold tonight, though. We have to get through the cold for the weekend. Temperatures dropping down to around 20 degrees in Elmira, and we're going to plummet down to around 23 in Corning. Any snow that we have out there will continue to end. Gusty conditions as we start off the day tomorrow. Highs only around 39 degrees for both Corning and in Elmira, 34 in Perkinsville. But take a look at this, a big warm up as we head into your Saturday. In fact, it could be about 20 degrees warmer than Friday on Saturday, 61 degrees on Sunday, quiet weather through the weekend and into early next week. Mild conditions through much of the week. This comes ahead of another system that will bring cloud cover and also the possibility of rain and thunderstorms on Wednesday and Thursday. Overnight lows will only drop down into the 40s by the end of next week.
The CDC released new, more extensive guidance when it comes to coronavirus testing in places like schools and workplaces. And healthcare providers are calling it a critical approach to stopping the spread of COVID-19. Mandy Gaither has a closer look at the new recommendations in today's Health Minute.
In the war on COVID-19, it's a weapon to help get closer to the end of the pandemic.
Reliable and widely available testing is a crucial part of our efforts to stop the spread of COVID-19.
The CDC says anyone with signs or symptoms of COVID-19 should continue to get swabbed during testing. But the agency also says rapid tests at different points in time, also known as serial screening, can help catch asymptomatic infections, allowing for quick identification and isolation of an infected person, especially important when there's a large number of coronavirus cases in a community or a high risk of COVID-19 spreading.
To end this pandemic, everyone must have equal access to affordable and timely testing with fast turnaround time for results to identify infections and reduce community spread.
The guidance is intended for use by healthcare providers and public health officials and those doing testing in places like colleges and universities, workplaces, homeless shelters, and detention facilities. The CDC also says getting a coronavirus vaccine will not affect the results of a COVID-19 viral test. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
An amazing rescue in North Carolina. A child home alone desperately calls 911 as flames start to engulf the apartment. Mark Beckers has more.
Okay, what's going on?
The house is on fire, help!
You could feel the fear in 11-year-old Tyshayla's trembling voice, home alone with her 6-year-old brother Hampton, as the flames closed in.
Is everybody out of the apartment?
No, we're inside of it!
Okay, and the apartment is on fire?
Yeah, help! This help!
By then, firefighters from a brand new station about a mile away on Clanton Road were on their way. And the dispatcher kept Tyshayla on the line and tried to keep her calm.
Is the fire in the room with you, or is it outside the room?
No, it's in a different room, but it's getting closer.
Okay, right. We've got fire companies coming out there. I need you to stay on the phone with me.
Please hurry up.
It must have felt like hours, but the first trucks were actually arriving at the apartment within several minutes.
I just saw them pass by us.
All right, yep, they're going. They're pulling up.
Please come.
There's smoke in your room?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot. Help! Help! Help us!
Hey, can you put something over your face? Put like a blanket or something over your face. Are the firemen talking to you? I need you to stay right down on the floor by the window. Stay by that window, okay?
Tyshayla and her brother were at that window a few minutes later when firefighters used a ladder to bring them to safety. And when it was over, Tyshayla held 2 thumbs up as she and her brother posed with those firefighters who'd rescued them. An image that says it all.
A Chicago police officer may have violated department policy by posting a Yelp review, not because of what was in the review itself, but because it included his picture in a uniform. Dana Kozlov has more.
Rock and Roll Vintage Guitars in Ravenswood has been closed to in-store browsing for a year. Signs on the door make that quite clear.
Because we have 2 to 3 guys working here and we're all unvaccinated.
So imagine General Manager Andrew Mara's surprise when Monday afternoon, a Chicago police officer in uniform wanted in.
He never rang the bell. He just shook the door. Like, I was alarmed. I thought maybe, there was something wrong. He's a cop.
Mara says he told the officer he couldn't let him inside, and the officer walked away. It's what the officer did next that stunned Mara.
He went outside and he sat in his police cruiser in the front of our store for about 45 minutes. And then that's when I got the Yelp notification to our email saying that he had just reviewed our store.
This Yelp notification with a picture of the officer in uniform criticizing the store's no browsing policy. It upset Mara, not the bad review, but the fact that it came from an officer pictured in his uniform. And according to CPD policy, the post may be a problem. That policy states officers are prohibited from posting any intellectual property of the department, which includes logos and uniforms. Mara also snapped a picture of the officer's parked police car and included it in his complaint to the Civilian Office of Police Accountability.
And if he showed up in his civilian clothing, I would have taken the Yelp review, no problem. But it's just, the only word I can say is unacceptable.
The Federal Communications Commission has issued its largest fine in history. Texas-based telemarketers have to pay $225 million for sending about 1 billion robocalls claiming to sell insurance. Many of them were illegally spoofed. That means they have a fake caller ID making them appear to come from a nearby location. The FCC says the callers falsely claim to sell insurance from well-known companies like Blue Cross Blue Shield and Cigna. Tide detergent is encouraging cold water washing to save you money and to save the planet. Tide plans to launch its Turn to Cold Water campaign soon. Now the goal is for consumers to do 3 out of every 4 loads of laundry with cold water instead of hot by 2030. If this goal is met, Tide says it will have the same impact on greenhouse gas emissions as removing about 1 million cars from the road for a year. It will also save you money, up to $150 a year in energy costs if you wash with cold water. There's an expression that says a hug is like a smile with your arms. Well, there's a kindergarten teacher in New York who missed those smiles with arms from her students because of COVID until someone came up with what they call a hugging machine. Jennifer McLogan has more.
We made a hugging machine, so now she can hug everyone in the world.
5-year-old Avery Green and his parents, Kathy and Al, healthcare workers, did something unexpected.
I've been really isolated, not just because of COVID, but because of the cancer.
Breast cancer, stage 4, unable to be with her Aquabog students in person. Carrie Stromsky is teaching kindergarten remotely while going through chemo and radiation.
And it was hard because the parents, they all know, I'm very honest with my families. And they all had to say, no, you can't hug Mrs. Stromsky.
We just wanted to keep Carrie safe because she's sick. She kept saying that she missed hugging her babies. So we just wanted to make something so she could have a way.
We made it out of a shower curtain and we cut holes. And then you start hugging.
So when Avery showed up with the hug machine.
The surprise bringing smiles amid tears.
A touching moment, something so small, but it went a long way.
How does that feel to hug your teacher?
Good.
Yeah, one of the biggest things of being a kindergarten teacher is the hugs.
Mrs. Stromsky has overcome every obstacle in her way, and she's done it all for the students.
Carrie is doing all she can to keep the magic alive. Her next plan is for a hug parade featuring all her students and parents.
Hug parade. She decided everyone could come and get hugs.
Yes, well, I told them I would do a hug parade when I'm a little bit better.
Embracing, bringing healing in Aquabog. I'm Jennifer McLogan, CBS 2 News.
We want to leave you with a smile tonight. Sister Jean is headed back to the NCAA tournament. The popular 101-year-old nun will once again be on hand to cheer on the Loyola University Chicago Ramblers. Sister Jean Schmidt had served as the team's chaplain since 1994 and gained widespread fame during the 2018 NCAA tournament when the team made a Cinderella run to the Final Four. If you want to know just how popular she is, in 2018, a bobblehead was made in her honor, and at the time, it was the all-time bestseller at the National Bobblehead Hall of Fame and Museum. Loyola will first play Georgia Tech on Friday. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a good night, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.